Some NFL players had it all, but not all of them made the right choices. From Aaron Hernandez, whose off-field crimes ended a promising rise,
led into court, charged with the brutal murder of his friend Odin Lloyd,
to Michael Vick, whose illegal dogfighting operation shocked the nation.
Former Virginia Tech quarterback Michael Vick's dogfighting ring was discovered.
These are the NFL players who ruined their own careers. Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez was once one of the NFL's brightest young stars. A standout tight end for the New England Patriots, he helped lead his team to Super Bowl XLVI and formed one of the league's most dominant duos, alongside Rob Gronkowski. At just 20 years old, Hernandez had fame, fortune, and a career full of promise. But behind the touchdowns and headlines was a man whose off-field decisions would destroy everything. In 2013, Hernandez's life spiraled out of control. He was arrested and charged with the murder of Odin Lloyd, a semi-professional football player connected to Hernandez's fiance's family. Police said Hernandez feared Lloyd might reveal secrets about him, and instead of handling the situation responsibly, Hernandez allegedly orchestrated Lloyd's murder. Lloyd was shot multiple times and left just a mile from Hernandez's home. Within hours of his arrest, the Patriots released Hernandez and the NFL cut all ties, canceling his career before it could fully blossom. At trial, prosecutors painted a damning picture of Hernandez as a man willing to murder to protect his reputation. In 2015, he was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Charging the defendant, Aaron Hernandez, and guilty of murder in the first degree.
While behind bars, Hernandez's troubles didn't end. He was later acquitted of a 2012 double homicide in Boston, but his reputation was already irreversibly tarnished. Reports surfaced of his involvement with gangs, secret apartments stocked with guns and drugs, and violent behavior both inside and outside prison. Friends and teammates described him as charismatic yet volatile, a man whose temper often led him into dangerous situations. Even in prison, Hernandez's life was marked by drama. He became deeply religious, turned to the Bible, and reconciled with estranged family members, but he also smoked synthetic drugs, suffered disciplinary actions, and engaged in tense conflicts with fellow inmates. Despite these warnings, he appeared strangely calm in the days before his death. On April 19, 2017, just 5 days after being acquitted of the Boston double homicide, Hernandez was found dead in his prison cell, hanging with bedsheets. Posthumously, he was diagnosed with CTE, a brain disease linked to repeated head trauma, raising questions about how much the condition influenced his violent behavior. Moving on, we have a player who destroyed his entire NFL career by running an illegal dogfighting operation. Michael Vick. Michael Vick was the NFL's brightest star. First overall pick in 2001, a Virginia Tech standout, and a quarterback who rewrote the rules of the position. He could outrun defenders, throw from impossible angles, and electrify stadiums. Atlanta believed he was the face of the franchise, but beneath the highlight reels, Vick was making choices that would destroy his career and taint his legacy. By 2007, Vick's life had spiraled out of control. He was running Bad News Kennels, an illegal dogfighting operation. He didn't just bankroll it, he handled the dogs himself, trained them, and participated in murdering those that didn't perform. Dogs were hanged, beaten, and drowned. When federal authorities discovered the operation, public outrage was immediate. Sponsors dropped him. The NFL suspended him indefinitely. Overnight, Vick went from superstar quarterback to national pariah. In July 2007, Vick and 3 co-defendants were indicted on federal charges for operating an interstate dogfighting ring. He pleaded guilty to conspiracy and sponsoring an animal fighting venture. Vick admitted to financing the operation, taking part in fights, sharing the proceeds, and personally murdering 6 to 8 dogs. While out on bail, he failed a drug test, complicating matters further. In December 2007, Vick was sentenced to 23 months in federal prison and ordered to deposit nearly $1 million to care for the confiscated dogs, many requiring lifelong medical care. The Falcons released him immediately. Vick's career, once brimming with promise, was in ruins, but in 2009, he returned with the Philadelphia Eagles. He led the team to a division title in 2010, earned Pro Bowl honors, and was named Comeback Player of the Year. Yet injuries and inconsistency limited him. After retiring in 2017, Vick pursued coaching and advocacy. He worked with the Humane Society, lobbied for stronger anti-dogfighting laws, and expressed remorse for his crimes. Next, we have a player who destroyed his NFL career with his own out-of-control behavior, Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel was one of college football's brightest stars. A dual-threat quarterback at Texas A&M, he shattered records as a redshirt freshman, becoming the first freshman to pass for 3,000 yards and rush for 1,000 yards in a single season. He won the Heisman Trophy, the Davy O'Brien Award, and the Manning Award, and led the Aggies to a 41-13 Cotton Bowl victory over Oklahoma. Fans, media, and scouts believed he was destined for NFL greatness, but Manziel's personal decisions and lifestyle would destroy that potential. Selected 22nd overall by the Cleveland Browns in the 2014 NFL Draft, Manziel arrived with immense hype, yet from the start, his focus was fractured. He struggled with alcohol and drug abuse, often partying instead of learning the playbook. Coaches complained he showed up unprepared, and teammates grew frustrated with his lack of discipline. Even pre-draft workouts were marred by behavior inconsistent with professional expectations. His agent later described it as a constant struggle to get him to the finish line, with Manziel arriving hungover to critical evaluations. Additionally, off-field controversies multiplied. He faced domestic violence allegations, public intoxication, and reckless partying, often drawing national media attention. His behavior overshadowed any on-field potential, creating a reputation of unreliability. Compounding this, Manziel's style of improvisational, backyard football that had worked in college did not translate to the NFL. Mental health played a hidden role. Manziel was later diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but he struggled for years without proper treatment. In interviews, he admitted he gave up on himself, lost his work ethic, and allowed off-field demons to dictate his actions. The Browns released him in 2016 after just 14 games. He attempted comebacks in the CFL, AAF, and other leagues, but injuries, contract issues, and continued behavioral problems prevented him from regaining stability. Manziel's downward spiral extended beyond football. He burned through millions of dollars, alienated his support system, and publicly admitted he once planned to end his life, only stopping when the gun he intended to use malfunctioned. On the other hand, we have a player who destroyed his NFL career because of an elevator incident: Ray Rice. Ray Rice was one of the NFL's most productive running backs. Drafted in the second round of the 2008 NFL Draft by the Baltimore Ravens, he became a cornerstone of the franchise. A three-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl XFL champion, Rice ranked second in Ravens history in rushing yards, attempts, and touchdowns. But on February 15, 2014, after a night of heavy drinking at the Revel Casino in Atlantic City, Rice and his fiancée, Janae Palmer, got into an argument. The confrontation followed them into an elevator, where Palmer appeared to spit in Rice's face. Rice struck her in the face, causing her to fall, hit her head on the elevator railing, and lose consciousness. He then dragged her from the elevator. The public reaction was immediate and explosive. Initially, the NFL suspended Rice for only 2 games, a punishment widely criticized as far too lenient. The Baltimore Ravens, under pressure, called the matter a serious incident, but the initial response did little to prevent the fallout. On March 27, 2014, a grand jury indicted Rice for third-degree aggravated assault. Weeks later, he married Palmer. Though criminal charges were eventually dropped after Rice entered a court-supervised counseling program, the damage to his reputation was irreversible. The situation escalated when a more graphic video of the elevator incident was released in September 2014. Public outrage forced the Ravens to release Rice and the NFL to suspend him indefinitely. Despite successfully appealing the indefinite suspension, no team signed him in free agency. Endorsements vanished. Madden NFL 15 removed him from the game, and his career, which had once promised enduring NFL stardom, was effectively over. Rice later expressed regret, stating, "There is no excuse for domestic violence," and acknowledging the act as a horrible mistake. Though he attempted a return to football, he ultimately said he was done with football. Next up, we have a player who ruined his NFL career due to criminal behavior that led to murder: Ray Caruth. Ray Caruth was once considered one of the NFL's next great wide receivers. A first-round pick in 1997, a college All-American, and a young star for the Carolina Panthers. His career started strong, and Carolina expected him to become one of the faces of the franchise. But behind the talent was a man whose personal decisions would end everything long before football ever could. On November 16, 1999, Caruth made the decision that destroyed his life and the lives of everyone around him. His girlfriend, Sherika Adams, a 24-year-old real estate agent, was 8 months pregnant with his son. Prosecutors later said Caruth didn't want to pay child support and wanted the pregnancy gone. Instead of taking responsibility, he arranged a murder plot. Caruth blocked Sherika's car on a Charlotte road, while an associate, Van Brett Watkins, pulled up beside her and opened fire with a .357 revolver. Sherika was shot 4 times. Despite her injuries, she managed to call 911 and described exactly what happened, including that Caruth had stopped his car in front of hers moments before the shooting. She fell into a coma shortly after arriving at the hospital. Doctors delivered her baby through an emergency C-section. The baby, Chancellor Lee Adams, survived, but because he was without oxygen for 70 minutes, he suffered permanent brain damage and cerebral palsy. Sherika died a month later. Caruth initially posted a $3 million bond with the agreement that he would turn himself in if Sherika or the baby died. When Sherika passed away, Caruth fled. He was found the next day in Tennessee, hiding in the trunk of a car outside a motel with $3,900 in cash, clothes, candy bars, and bottles of urine. The Panthers immediately released him, and the NFL suspended him indefinitely. At trial, prosecutors argued Caruth hired Watkins to murder Sherika after she refused an abortion. Caruth's defense claimed it was a drug deal gone wrong, but the jury didn't accept it. He avoided a first-degree murder conviction, which spared him the death penalty, but he was sentenced to 18 to 24 years in prison. Thus, Caruth was released in October 2018 after nearly 19 years. Moving on, we have a player whose criminal activities destroyed his NFL career. Plaxico Burress. Plaxico Burress was one of the NFL's most explosive wide receivers. Drafted 8th overall by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2000, he became a key player for the New York Giants, famously catching the game-winning touchdown in Super Bowl X-12 against the previously undefeated Patriots. For years, Burress seemed unstoppable on the field, but one night in 2008 destroyed everything. On November 28, 2008, Burress was at a nightclub in New York City carrying a Glock pistol illegally. While adjusting the gun in his pocket, he accidentally fired it into his right thigh. The injury was not life-threatening, but the consequences were immediate and severe. 2 days later, Burress turned himself in for criminal possession of a weapon. He faced felony charges, a potential multi-year prison sentence, and a ruined reputation. The Giants suspended him without pay for the remainder of the 2008 season and placed him on the reserve non-football injury list, preventing him from participating in the playoffs. Burress posted $100,000 bail, but soon realized the incident had irreversibly damaged his career. In August 2009, he accepted a plea deal, resulting in 20 months in prison and 2 years of supervised release. His time behind bars coincided with his prime athletic years, effectively ending his dominant run with the Giants. After prison, Burress returned to the NFL, playing brief stints with the New York Jets and Pittsburgh Steelers. He caught only 48 passes across these seasons, never regaining his elite performance level. Off the field, Burress struggled financially and legally. He faced civil lawsuits, tax issues, and foreclosure, including selling his Super Bowl ring to cover debts. He was indicted in 2015 for failing to pay $46,000 in state taxes, eventually receiving probation and being ordered to repay penalties and restitution. Despite the collapse of his playing career, Burress attempted to stay in the public eye. He co-wrote Giant, The Road to the Super Bowl, appeared on Celebrity Wife Swap, and worked briefly as an NFL analyst for Sportsnet New York. On the other hand, we have a player whose political activism effectively ended his NFL career. Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick rose quickly in the NFL, drafted by the San Francisco 49ers in the second round of 2011. A backup to Alex Smith, he became the starter mid-2012 and led the 49ers to Super Bowl X-12. He earned a reputation for dual-threat quarterback play and, in 2013, helped the team reach the NFC Championship game. But by 2016, Kaepernick's career was on a collision course with controversy. During the 2016 preseason, Kaepernick began protesting racial injustice injustice and police brutality by sitting during the national anthem. After consulting with veteran Nate Boyer, he switched to kneeling, a symbolic gesture to show respect for the military while maintaining his protest. The actions ignited national debate. Fans, media, and politicians reacted strongly, with many criticizing Kaepernick as unpatriotic, while others praised his courage. The protests quickly became a polarizing issue, drawing attention from President Donald Trump and major news outlets.
I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed.
Despite still being capable as a quarterback, Kaepernick's protest created a perception among NFL owners that he was a liability. Teams worried about fan backlash, sponsor pressure, and potential media distractions. So, in February 2019, Kaepernick reached a confidential settlement with the NFL, effectively ending his NFL career. While his skills might have allowed him to play as a backup, the political and public backlash ensured no team signed him. Off the field, Kaepernick channeled his influence into activism. He founded the Know Your Rights camp, donated millions to social justice causes, and partnered with brands like Nike and Ben & Jerry's to promote racial equality and vegan initiatives. Next up, we have a player whose NFL career was destroyed by drugs. Josh Gordon entered the NFL as one of the most naturally gifted receivers of his generation. Drafted by the Cleveland Browns in the second round of the 2012 supplemental draft, he flashed elite ability immediately. His rookie year was solid, but 2013 turned him into a star. Despite serving a 2-game suspension to start the season, Gordon exploded for 1,146 receiving yards in just 14 games, leading the entire league. He became the first player in NFL history with back-to-back 200-yard receiving games, earning first-team All-Pro and Pro Bowl honors. Coaches, players, and analysts all said the same thing. Gordon was a once-in-a-decade talent, but behind the highlight plays, his career was held together by a thin thread that eventually snapped. His long-standing battles with addiction. Gordon's substance abuse problems began long before the NFL. He admitted to using drugs in middle school, stealing electronics to feed the habit, and getting expelled from multiple schools. In high school, he joined a gang in Houston, sold drugs, carried guns, and drank vodka during class. At Baylor, he was arrested after police found him and a teammate asleep in a Taco Bell drive-thru with bags of drugs. He later revealed a coach helped him cheat drug tests, allowing him to keep playing until another failed test led to an indefinite suspension. The NFL years followed the same pattern. Despite dominating on Sundays, Gordon admitted he was often drunk or high before games, regularly missed meetings, and showed up late with bloodshot eyes. Suspensions came rapidly. 2 games in 2013, a season-long ban reduced to 10 games in 2014, another full-season suspension in 2015, and multiple failed reinstatements in 2016. Even when reinstated in 2017, he lasted only 5 games before setbacks returned. Teams kept giving him chances: Cleveland, New England, Seattle, Kansas City, Tennessee. But every opportunity ended the same way. Another violation, another indefinite suspension. Gordon later said he never believed the consequences were real, thinking he could keep getting away with it. By the time he realized he couldn't, his career was already over. Moving on, we have a player whose NFL career was destroyed by poor decisions. Ryan Leaf. Ryan Leaf wasn't just another quarterback. He was the 2nd overall pick in the 1998 NFL Draft, drafted right after Peyton Manning and one of college football's brightest stars at Washington State. A Heisman finalist, Leaf had the arm, the talent, and the swagger to dominate the NFL. But in just a few short seasons, all that promise collapsed. His rookie year with the San Diego Chargers was a disaster. 2 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, and a reputation for clashing with coaches, teammates, and the media. Junior Seau and Rodney Harrison complained about his attitude. Leaf's poor performance, volatile temper, and inability to focus turned him from a potential superstar into one of the biggest draft busts in NFL history. Injuries only made things worse. A shoulder injury sidelined him for the entire 1999 season, and lingering wrist problems led to prescription painkiller abuse. By 2001, after stints with the Chargers, Cowboys, Buccaneers, and Seahawks, his NFL career was over. Leaf's personal life spiraled as well. A pattern of drug use, burglary, and other legal issues culminated in multiple prison sentences between 2010 and 2014. At one point, he even attempted suicide, slitting his wrists in 2012. Yet Leaf's story didn't end in despair. After years of addiction and legal troubles, he found a path to recovery. He became a program ambassador for Transcend Recovery Community, advocating for mental health and substance abuse awareness. He returned to football in a new role, as a college and NFL analyst, radio host, and commentator. On the other hand, we have a player whose NFL career was destroyed by a series of illegal acts. Todd Marinovich. Todd Marinovich entered football with more pressure and expectation than almost any quarterback of his era. Born in 1969, he became known nationwide as the Robo-QB, a product of extreme scientifically engineered training imposed by his father, Marv Marinovich, a former USC captain and strength coach. From strict diets to controlled workouts, Todd's life revolved entirely around football. By the time he reached USC, he was a national story, a quarterback built to dominate. The Los Angeles Raiders drafted him in the first round of 1991, expecting a franchise star, but behind the image, Marinovich was already unraveling. In 1991, while still at USC, he was arrested for drug possession, an early sign of the drug issues that would define his career. With the Raiders, the problems intensified. Marinovich failed multiple drug tests, struggled with discipline, and clashed with coaches. Despite flashes of potential, his off-field issues overshadowed his on-field talent. After only 2 seasons, the Raiders released him, ending what was supposed to be a long NFL career. The rest of Marinovich's life became dominated by addiction. In 1997, he was arrested for drugs and spent months in jail and minimum security custody. In 2000, he faced an assault arrest, followed by a drug arrest in 2001. Through the 2000s, Marinovich's pattern continued: repeated arrests, rehab stints, and brief attempts at rebuilding his life. In 2005, Newport Beach police found him in a public bathroom with drug paraphernalia, calling himself an unemployed artist and anarchist. Courts ordered extensive rehab, but relapses followed. He tried to return to football through the CFL and Arena Football League, but addiction limited every comeback. In 2007, he was arrested again for drug possession and resisting a police order. A brief period of sobriety allowed him to lecture at recovery centers and work with young athletes, but the progress didn't last. In 2009, he was jailed for missing a court hearing. His most notorious incident came in 2016, when police found him naked in a neighbor's backyard in Irvine, high on drugs and attempting to open a sliding door. Marinovich eventually turned toward art, recovery, and reflection. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, and before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to NFL Rivals so you don't miss the next ones.